In the heart of Buckingham Palace, where secrets hide like shadows, a hidden message from Queen Elizabeth has finally surfaced. It was never meant for the public, it wasn't intended for King Charles. But Princess Anne could no longer stay silent. And when she finally broke her silence, everything shifted. Suddenly, attention moved. Not to Charles, not even to William, but to Catherine. A woman prepared for more than support. What did the Queen think of Catherine? And why is the royal family shaken to its core? Let's examine the royal message that shook the throne. Beginning with the moment Princess Anne dropped the bombshell. In the private heart of Buckingham Palace, far from the watchful public, a private gathering took place that would shake the monarchy. It was not a grand state dinner or formal briefing. It was private and dangerous. The gilded walls that had witnessed centuries of power plays, betrayal, and coronations now became the silent witnesses of a truth long buried. The attendees were few, only the closest royals. No aides, press, or cameras, just family ties and a silence tense with anticipation. It was within this sacred space that Princess Anne, known for discretion and practicality, did the unthinkable. She spoke with a voice laced in quiet authority, and dropped a revelation that stunned everyone at the table and opened the monarchy's sealed vault of secrets. She wasn't delivering a casual childhood memory. This was different. Her tone was heavy, a deliberate pacing in her words that made the room fall silent. Catherine was always different, she began, her eyes fixed on King Charles, who sat motionless, unaware of the storm approaching. The Queen's only daughter wasn't offering an opinion. She was delivering a message, one left by Queen Elizabeth herself. Unofficial, undocumented, but unforgettable. According to Anne, in the Queen's last days, a private talk took place, not with the press, not with her advisors, but with her daughter. In that conversation, Elizabeth revealed a startling belief that the future of the monarchy might not rest solely in the hands of everyone asking the heir torn beside him. This wasn't about tradition. It wasn't about titles or birthright. It was about strength, vision, and a kind of quiet strength. The Queen believed Catherine possessed something she feared might be the monarchy's only hope in a changing world. No one in the room expected it. And that was precisely what made it so powerful. The tension rose. Even those most comfortable with royal protocol found themselves unnerved. This wasn't just a moment of family reflection. This was a crack in the shell of succession, a sudden challenge to the very core of the monarchy's identity. For centuries, the line of succession was set in stone. But now, Anne's words suggested that Queen Britain's longest reigning monarch had imagined another future. One led not only by a king, but shaped and perhaps even saved by a queen consort unlike any before her. The tension in the room didn't fade. It evolved. Eyes turned toward Charles, then to William, and finally settled on Catherine. If the Queen truly believed Catherine was destined to bear the weight of the crown's future, then everything they knew, everything they had planned, was now in question. Was this the Queen's final prophecy? A private truth she couldn't risk placing in official archives, but entrusted by her most trusted child. And yet, for all the shock it caused, there was one question that loomed larger than the revelation itself. Why now? Why had Anne waited until this exact moment to reveal the Queen's hidden words? Not all royal prophecies are recorded officially or whispered across polished council tables. Some are carried quietly, from heart to heart, spoken not as declarations, but as truths too sacred to be written. And in Queen Elizabeth's last days, one such truth emerged, concealed in private conversations and trusted by the one person she believed would never twist her words. Princess Anne. It wasn't announced to the world. It wasn't even shared with Charles. But it was said with conviction, and it was unforgettable. According to Anne, the Queen's final reflections didn't rest on the shoulders of her eldest son, or even the throne he was about to inherit. Instead, her gaze turned elsewhere, to the one woman who, in silence and consistency, had earned her trust, Catherine. It was never about titles. The Queen understood better than anyone that crowns can be heavy. But true power doesn't always come with one. She had seen monarchs across the globe fall victim to image and influence, but what she saw in Catherine was something that transcended royal protocol. A steady hand, a resilience, a grace that did not demand attention, and a determination that never asked for sympathy. These were not the attributes of someone who simply stood beside a king. These were the qualities of a leader who could carry the spirit of a monarchy on her own back. Anne didn't speak out of sentimentality. She spoke because she had witnessed her mother's unspoken confidence in Catherine's evolution. As the Queen's health waned, her observations sharpened. She saw the cracks forming in the foundation of a modern monarchy. Criticism, social media attacks, and a growing indifference from a weary nation. But amid all that, Catherine stood firm. Not flawless, not always visible, but undeniably constant. Elizabeth, a master of reading character beneath charm, knew what few dared to say aloud. Catherine would become the monarchy's strongest pillar, not because she was destined to, but because she chose to be. And so, the private prediction changed how insiders saw the future. For centuries, succession was viewed through lineage. But now the conversation had changed. It wasn't just about hierarchy, it was about influence, about legacy, about who could not only wear the crown but bear the weight of what it represents. The Queen's belief in Catherine wasn't about replacing Charles or overshadowing William. It was about reinforcing the future with someone who embodied the very soul of duty. That belief, once quietly passed between mother and daughter, now echoes through the halls of the palace louder than ever. Especially now, as critics grow restless, and whispers about Catherine's role rise with every missed appearance and every public silence. But the Queen's voice, though absent, remains undeniable, and it points in one clear direction, toward a woman who never asked to lead but may one day be remembered as the one who saved it all. Is Catherine being judged unfairly, or is the public missing the bigger picture? In 2023, the official court circular revealed something that quickly ignited debate across tabloids, newsrooms, and social media. Princess Anne had recorded a remarkable 457 royal engagements, the most of any working royal that year. Meanwhile, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had participated in just 128. To some, the numbers spoke loudly. Critics painted a picture of imbalance, of a royal who wasn't pulling her weight during a time when public scrutiny of the monarchy was at an all-time high. Whispers turned to headlines, and headlines turned to outrage. Was Catherine avoiding duty while basking in privilege, or was there a deeper, deliberately overlooked truth behind the numbers? Royal watchers quickly turned the disparity into a weapon, using statistics as proof of commitment, or the lack thereof. But those close to the palace offered a very different version of the story. According to insiders, Catherine's reduced public schedule wasn't a result of laziness or indifference. It was a conscious, principled decision. She was prioritizing something the monarchy had never truly valued before: the emotional foundation of its next generation. While Princess Anne continued her relentless dedication to ceremonial duties, Catherine was fighting quietly at home, one that involved raising 3 children who would one day inherit not just titles, but the full weight of royal legacy. And that decision had a cost. The public, taught to equate visibility with value, overlooked the toll of constant judgment. Catherine wasn't withdrawing. She was investing. In Prince George, whose education was accelerating rapidly. In Princess Charlotte, who was already navigating the delicate line between normalcy and nobility. And in little Prince Louis, whose every public gesture was scrutinized far beyond his years. Catherine was doing what no royal mother before her had dared to do, putting the crown aside to raise the children who would one day wear it. And she did it knowing full well the media would use her absence as ammunition. Even Princess Anne, famously unflinching and known for her no-nonsense approach to duty, publicly defended Catherine's decision. Anne, who had long set the standard for royal work, acknowledged that home must come first. It was a rare solidarity between two very different women, one defined by her relentless public service, the other by her quiet strength behind palace walls. But that unity spoke volumes. Because if Anne, The monarchy's iron backbone, could recognize the value of Catherine's approach, then perhaps the world had it all wrong. What emerged wasn't just a comparison of schedules. It was a confrontation with the monarchy's old double standards. Catherine was being held to expectations forged in a bygone era. An era where queens consorts were expected to smile, wave, and disappear behind the king. But this is a new age. And Catherine isn't just reshaping the role, she's rebuilding it from the ground up. And while outsiders were focused on numbers, they missed what was unfolding beneath the surface. Because Catherine wasn't just participating in engagements, she was preparing something greater. Beneath the tiaras and public smiles, Catherine's royal education has never stopped. While the world judges her by photo ops and public appearances, she's been quietly mastering something far more powerful than statecraft. Her ascent isn't built on spectacle, but on a steady pursuit of knowledge, nuance, and patience. Behind palace walls, Catherine isn't just learning how to wave from balconies. She's studying the delicate machinery of a modern monarchy. Budget briefings, international relations, and national policy impacts. She's absorbing it all gradually. Not for glory, but for longevity. And she's doing it her way. Slow and strategic. Her approach is no accident. It mirrors the woman the press often overlooks, Princess Anne. Anne never needed a headline to prove her worth. She built her legacy through discipline, discretion, and duty, carrying out hundreds of engagements without fanfare. Catherine is following that blueprint. She's crafting a leadership style rooted not in dominance, but in depth. Where others play the game for attention, she thinks long-term. And it's working. Quietly, she's becoming the architect of a new kind of royal leadership, one that places substance over style. Beyond the royal protocols, Catherine has found purpose in causes most royals only briefly touch. Mental health isn't just a press initiative, it's a personal mission. Early childhood development isn't just a campaign, it's a core of her vision for the country. And her investment in family stability isn't symbolic, it's lived. These aren't duties assigned to her, they're responsibilities she's claimed. Catherine doesn't chase relevance, she builds it one step at a time. Because true leadership, as she's come to understand, isn't about commanding attention. It's about earning trust. Queen Elizabeth saw this long before the world did. In her final private words to Princess Anne, she acknowledged something quietly profound. That Catherine was not just learning how to serve, but how to lead. It was subtle, unspoken in public, but Anne remembered, and as time passed, it became clear. The Queen had planted a seed, one she trusted would blossom not in the limelight, but in the background. Because real influence doesn't arrive overnight. It's cultivated in the shadows, where strength is tested and character is forged. And through that quiet evolution, Catherine found more than just her own voice. She found an influence in Princess Anne. She discovered not only approval but kinship, a kind of silent mentorship built on burdens, respect, and an understanding few others could comprehend. Because while the crown may sit on one head, the weight is often carried by those who walk beside and behind. In a world of protocol and distance, where warmth is often hidden beneath centuries of formality, a bond was quietly forged, one that could shape the future of the crown. It didn't begin with grand gestures or scripted alliances. It started with shared silence, mirrored values, and the mutual recognition of something far deeper than titles. Anne and Catherine, separated by decades but united in purpose, found each other in the quiet corners of duty. Where others were consumed by appearances, they were focused on endurance. Where others chased influence, they preserved tradition. And in that space between generations, an alliance emerged not of convenience, but of conviction. What began as mentorship slowly became something more intimate, a kinship rooted in resilience and seasoned by decades of royal service, had no interest in vanity or approval. She never played the media's game. She built her legacy through sheer will and unwavering devotion to duty. Catherine, drawn to that same strength, studied her, not as a superior, but as a model. And Anne, in return, offered something rarely seen in royal circles: wisdom. She didn't lecture, She didn't intervene. She guided quietly, steadily with resolve. She taught Catherine how to withstand the storms of power, how to stay calm when the walls begin to shake, and how to rise without ever needing to shout. Their relationship never played out in front of the cameras, but behind the scenes, it was one of the strongest in the family. Insiders speak of long, unpublicized conversations, of moments where Anne stepped in not to correct but to reinforce. And in royal projects, their collaboration was unmistakable. Whether it was Catherine's deep involvement in early childhood development or Anne's unwavering dedication to global humanitarian work, the two found a rhythm, complementing each other's efforts with grace and humility. Together, they weren't just fulfilling duties. They were redefining the legacy of royal womanhood from ornamental to operational. What emerged from this alliance was more than personal connection. It was a passing of responsibility, not with ceremony, but with trust. Anne, having spent a lifetime protecting the monarchy's image and integrity, now saw in Catherine someone capable of carrying that weight forward. Not by mimicking the past, but by embodying its core values in a new age. And Catherine, never one to rush or seek praise, accepted that torch not as a symbol, but as a responsibility. Yet with this rise in quiet strength, a new storm was brewing, one that Anne, despite all her wisdom and experience, never had to face. Because while Anne navigated tradition, Catherine would be forced to navigate something far more dangerous: the digital age, where every moment is captured, every silence is questioned, and every misstep amplified in real time. In Anne's day, gossip lived in tabloids. Today, it spreads in seconds. Back then, headlines came once a day and disappeared just as quickly. There was time to breathe, time to correct the narrative, time to recover. But the world Catherine stepped into is merciless. Social media doesn't wait. It doesn't ask questions. It assumes, accuses, and amplifies before the truth even has a chance to speak. Every word she says, every look she gives, even every absence, nothing escapes the digital radar. And unlike the firm grip the palace once held on public image, the new age belongs to algorithms, influencers, and unrelenting speculation. The monarchy is no longer shielded by prestige. It's driven by perception. In a resurfaced interview, Princess Anne, with her usual candid tone, admitted what everyone already suspected. It was easier in her time. There were no viral videos, no anonymous comments dissecting your facial expressions. She reflected on how the absence of social media allowed for mistakes to be absorbed quietly, for learning to happen without humiliation. But she didn't say it with arrogance. She said it with empathy because she knows Catherine isn't just navigating duty, she's navigating a field of judgment. And unlike Anne, who was allowed to build her legacy over time, Catherine is forced to defend hers in real time. It's not just criticism, it's constant scrutiny. If Catherine attends an event, she's accused of trying too hard. If she skips one, she's painted as negligent. If she smiles, it's called calculated. If she remains reserved, it's called cold. Every decision is twisted. Every silence is filled with speculation. She walks a line so fine that it seems designed to break her. And still, she doesn't break. She carries on with grace, with poise, refusing to respond to the noise, refusing to stoop to the chaos that surrounds her. And while much of the world hurls opinions without consequence, there are those within the palace who are watching closely and seeing something entirely different. They're seeing a woman who understands the long view, someone who knows that real strength doesn't shout back, it stands tall. And Anne sees it too. She knows that Catherine is doing what no royal had to do before: navigate relevance in a world that rewards spectacle but punishes sincerity. It's a nearly impossible task. Yet Catherine continues one carefully measured step at a time. And even as the digital tide rises higher, even as critics try to tear apart her image constantly, Catherine's choices behind closed doors are beginning to speak louder than the noise outside. Because while the world focuses on what's seen, what Catherine is building unseen is earning respect where it truly matters most. While the cameras look for headlines, Catherine makes sacrifices no one sees. Her absence from the 2023 Earthshot event sparked waves of speculation, with critics quick to brand it unroyal, as if being a mother had no place in the kingdom's priority list. The tabloids didn't waste time. They questioned her dedication, her timing, her very place in the royal hierarchy. But what they didn't question, because they never cared to see, was the reason behind her silence. Catherine had stayed home, not because of illness, not because of a scandal, but because her son, Prince George, had exams. "I've been helping George," she admitted simply, almost quietly. But in that single sentence, she revealed a truth far more powerful than any headline. She had chosen motherhood over monarchy, and she had no regrets. It wasn't just about tutoring or revision. It was about presence, reassurance, showing her son that even with the crown's weight hanging over their family's future, he was still just a child, and he came first. In a world where every moment is public property, Catherine chose to protect the most private one of all, the bond between a mother and her child. She wasn't abandoning duty, she was redefining it, because the monarchy's survival doesn't rest solely on public engagements or polished appearances. It depends on the next generation's ability to carry it with strength, humanity, and grounding. And Catherine, more than anyone, understands that this wasn't a one-off gesture. It was part of a pattern of choosing what matters, even when the world doesn't understand. Her sacrifices don't wear medals. They don't make headlines, but they shape character, build resilience, and plant the seeds of legacy. She isn't just raising children. She's raising future monarchs, and she's doing it with a quiet intensity the public rarely sees. It's not glamorous, it's not celebrated, but it's essential, because what the public often forgets is that the monarchy doesn't just exist in parades and portraits. It exists in moments of guidance, in late-night conversations, in homework and heartbreak, helping young minds make sense of the impossible life ahead of them. Even Princess Anne, the monarchy's most steadfast workhorse, defended Catherine's decision. She understood that some duties aren't listed in the court circular. They've lived behind closed doors, and perhaps more than anyone recognized the strength it takes to walk away from public expectation to do what's right, not what's applauded. Catherine's devotion echoes a deeper philosophy, one shared by Queen Elizabeth herself. The true legacy of a monarch is not in the number of engagements they attend, but in the future they leave behind. And Catherine is ensuring that the future is rooted in empathy, strength, and unwavering love. And now, with the Queen's prophecy revealed, with whispers of Catherine's quiet power echoing louder than ever through the halls of Buckingham, a final question rises above the noise and demands to be answered. Queen Elizabeth may be gone, but her final words are shaping the monarchy's next phase in ways no one saw coming. With a single revelation quietly delivered by Princess Anne, the narrative shifted. Catherine is no longer just the poised wife at William's side. She's something more, something essential. The Queen didn't speak of lineage or birthright in those last private reflections. She spoke of vision, of humility, of service, qualities the monarchy was built to uphold, and that now teeter under the weight of a modern world that questions its very relevance. In Catherine, Elizabeth didn't just see a consort. She saw a guardian of continuity, someone capable of holding tradition and transformation in the same hand. It was never about who wore the crown next. That was always William. But the Queen understood something deeper. The survival of the monarchy would not depend on titles. It would depend on stability, on someone who could anchor the family during storms, someone who could lead with empathy, not ego. Catherine, with her quiet strength and unwavering resolve, has become the steady point. She may not sit on the throne today, but she already shoulders its weight in private decisions, in public restraint, in every sacrifice. Made far from the cameras, she is shaping the very image of what the modern royal must be. The monarchy doesn't need more spectacle. It needs substance. And that's what Catherine brings. Where others have faltered under scrutiny or grasped for power, she has remained steady, above the noise, calm under pressure. Her strength isn't loud, but it's undeniable. And now, With the Queen's quiet prophecy out in the open, the royal family can no longer pretend it's business as usual. Because in Catherine, the institution may have found not its next figurehead, but its only path forward. So, as the royal family moves forward, adjusting to new reigns, new critics, and new challenges, one quiet message still resonates, etched not in law, but in legacy. The future may wear a crown, but it is led by grace. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next. The revelation, whether remembered as a private warning or a quiet expression of faith, leaves one idea impossible to ignore. The future of the institution will be measured not only by ceremonies, titles, or appearances, but by the people willing to carry its responsibilities when no one is watching. And perhaps that is why Anne's words matter so much. They point beyond the noise and back toward the quiet strength Elizabeth valued most. It is a lesson that may shape the royal family long after headlines fade.